G'day guys, ZiggyD here, and in this video I'd like to discuss what I've learned so far about synthesis mechanics, mainly focusing on the Memory Nexus. It turns out that this is actually a lot more deep than I initially thought it would be. In the initial reveals and stuff, it all seemed pretty clear, and that the whole league would be kind of straightforward, and in comparison to Betrayal, that it would be rather simple. It turns out there's actually quite a lot of depth and nuance here. Honestly, this has been the slowest leveling of all time for me, because I haven't even reached endgame after the first day, after a very long day, because I just spent so much time fiddling and tinkering with the Nexus mechanics and learning all the different things you can do. Before we get to the actual Memory Nexus, though, I just wanted to give some basic tips that people have been missing a lot about basic memory collecting. When you're out in the world collecting the memories, the stabilizers that you need to stabilize the zones can be located pretty easily because they can only spawn at the 4 cardinal points. So that's like up left, and down right. Basically where the bridges can spawn. So if you look at the little icons, they can only spawn in the places that the bridges spawn because that's the shape that the map will be. Something else people have been kind of complaining about is having to stand around for ages in the zone for it to complete once they've stabilized it. Don't miss the little fast forward button down in the bottom right there. You can click that and it'll speed up the destabilization or the crumbling after you've stabilized it. I don't know, it doesn't make sense from a lore perspective, but you can fast forward it, and then if you want to leave quickly, you can simply just dive into the crumbling memory edge area, the blue area there. You don't die when you do this, it just teleports you out of the memory if it's a crumbling memory like this. Okay, and now let's take a look at the Memory Nexus. It looks a little crazy, and it actually does get a little bit crazy once you start to build up and maintain paths. So we know that the basic idea is to simply just build paths to the reward nodes and get the rewards. So you got things like, jewelry nodes and currency nodes, prophecy nodes that give a bunch of silver coins, and more things that we'll discover as time goes on, I am sure. So the simplest idea is simply to, from the Memory Nexus, which is always your starting point, to build a path connecting out to one of those rewards. Now, in terms of placing these things, you can't place them in such a way as to where a bridge would be blocked. You can only make sure that a bridge is either going into nowhere or that it's actually connected to another bridge. So, for example, this path leading here, I can't connect this one here because although the left or top right bridge here would connect, the top left would go into this wall here. So that wouldn't work right there. The only thing I could do here is a bend that went down in this direction. So I don't even actually have any pieces like that. So that's the basic thing, but I think that's only just scratching the surface. There's going to be a lot more to this in terms of especially endgame farming, in terms of building up and maintaining long paths with as many connections as possible, and then stacking as many modifiers as possible. So here's some examples. Check out this zone here. All of those light blue modifiers are mods that I have added to the zone through my activities elsewhere in the Memory Nexus. So you can see that list is getting quite long, and there's a lot of stuff on here, including, increasing the amount of magic monsters for synthesis monsters, making them drop extra currency items and currency shards and corrupted items and things like that. There's tons of this that you can stack, and you can really just build this up to insane levels. I think the end game for this is going to be building really long paths like that and stacking as many of these modifiers as possible to just make insane zones. Now, you've probably already noticed that the stabilized memories have insane density. There's just so many monsters in there to the point where, as soon as you activate it, you get ambushed by 100 monsters. So they are pretty juicy to begin with. But then when you start adding on things that scale up the number of synthesis monsters and then make all the synthesis monsters drop extra currency and things like that, this is going to be very rewarding once you start building up that and then taking advantage of it by farming that. So how do we do that? There's two key things you're looking for. The memory modifier nodes here and the memory modifier amplifiers. So if you can find one just here, grants an additional global mod to memories connected in sequence to the memory placed on this location. So the way these work is you build a path to one of them. So let's say this one over here. We run that path, and then every single connected node that doesn't have a dead space in between it will gain the modifier. So let's say this modifier could have 500% increased rarity of dropped items from rare synthesis monsters. Something like that, right? So if we had connected all of these nodes, so these ones were active as we ran through it, and we'll do that in a second. I'll give you guys a demonstration to make it clear. If we do that and activate this node, its modifier will be applied to all of these connected nodes, including through the Nexus as a central point, these nodes up here, all of this. And that's how I've gotten to the point where I'm stacking maps that just have so many extra modifiers like that, because I placed this ages ago and it's been sitting there just soaking up modifiers like some sort of investment. The way that I liken it is, imagine if you could put a map, just a standard Atlas map, in a map tab, and then every time you ran a different map, it would apply a modifier to the map in your map tab. Effectively like an investment. So you ran 100 maps, you come back, and then you've got a map with 100 modifiers on it. It's kind of like that. So it's going to get to be pretty insane. The key here in actually executing this strategy is maintaining paths and running them in kind of like an intelligent sort of way. So there's a bit of like a puzzling element to it, which has taken me some time to figure out. And there's also some mechanics that aren't super clear in terms of how you actually maintain the paths that I'll go through here with an actual demonstration. So the first thing is, as you can see, I've planned out a route to one of these memory modifiers. Usually I'm trying to do this in addition to also getting something else while I'm there. So in this case, I'm running towards the memory modifier, but also there's a reward node here. So I'll grab that as well, and I'll show you how to do both of those things in one run. Now, whenever you decide to set out to do this, you want to plan ahead, because if you just go and do it, then what's going to happen is these ones here are going to crumble, right? They're ready to crumble. They've got one run left on them, and then they're going to crumble, including this one up here. And when that happens, this path won't be connected to your Nexus and all of your other paths anymore. So that means the modifier here would be completely wasted. You know, it would only apply to these ones here once they're activated, and then there'd be empty gaps here, and the modifiers wouldn't spread. You need to proliferate those juicy modifiers. So you need to plan ahead. What that means is that noting which ones on your path are going to crumble, and then having replacements ready for them. So in this case, I know this one's going to crumble. I have a replacement here that I can put in. I know this one's going to crumble. I have a replacement here that I can use. This will work. And I have one here that's going to crumble as well. And I have another replacement here that I can use for that one. So I've planned ahead, and I know that I can replace each of those. And I'll now show you guys how to do that, how to actually replace those as you're going, because that's kind of key. You need to do it as you're going. Because as you'll note, this is just planned. This actually isn't placed and activated currently. If you just pop one down somewhere, like this one here, that isn't actually activated right now. And you can't spread one of these modifier mods through it, because this doesn't actually exist right now. In order to activate this, we have to go to one of the currently existing memories and click on the stabilization point to extend the bridge. So I'd have to either go here, or from here once this one's activated, and then stabilize this point. It's easy when it's on the memory nexus. If it's one next to it, I can just, click the stabilization point here and stabilize a memory there. But when it's in somewhere else in your path, you can't really teleport around. You have to do this full run. So that means we want to stabilize as we go. So let's go ahead and do that. So first things first, we're just going to continue on through the path that we have chosen. So in this case, I'm going down this bridge over here. Now, this is a good chance to bring up the difference between a stabilized memory and a crumbling memory. This one here has one use left, and it'll decay upon activating it, which means it'll be like the memories that you collect in that the edges will be decaying. When this happens, the items that drop within a decaying memory, you don't need to pick up. They will drop at the end once you stabilize it. So you don't need to worry about picking up items in these. You just try and do it as quickly as possible. These ones that are stable, however, and have multiple runs left in them, those ones won't be decaying, and they won't spit out the items at the end because the zone is secure. You want to pick up the items as you go. So in this case, I want to stabilize, and we're just heading down to the bottom right. So we just need to go straight across. So I'm basically just going to run across. We're going to try and avoid the blue areas. It doesn't kill you, but it slows you down and makes it easy for monsters to kill you. So we want to be a little bit careful about those. And you can basically fall through a hole. So once we've just killed this area here, we've got a bit of time to just kill some extra stuff. And there's pretty good drop rates from these monsters, especially with the modifiers that I've been stacking. We can activate this as well. Kill these guys. And then we stabilize, and this will eat everything and spit it up here for us. Everything that gets hit by this blue area will get spat up here, so I can simply just pick up these items, nice and easy. Okay, so we know that this one is now going to decay. I just ran it, it's fully decayed. The zone is just still on the map until we do the next action, and that part confused me initially. The zone is currently there on the map, but it doesn't exist anymore, and you can't do anything more with it in the future. So what we want to do is go to the next zone, and this is the important part. This is the part that you don't want to miss. So this part is gone, right? It's already gone. However, it won't disappear until we do something else. And this part's a little bit confusing. Maybe ZiggyD could improve on this, making it active, I don't know, trigger in a better way. Because right now, I can't place another piece here if I wanted to. But what we can do is just right-click it and delete it. Now, there's no loss to doing this because this one's already going to disappear in a second anyway. Literally, the moment I do something else in the Nexus, this will disappear. So I just delete it now. It'll crumble away. And now I can replace it. Now, this is just a planned node right now. technically this entire path is disconnected, and if I get a modifier here, it won't proliferate all the way down here and connect to this other path. So what we need to do is activate it. In order to do that, one click on the memory stabilizer will trigger the current zone that we're in for us to run, and a second click will stabilize or activate, or I guess trigger this one behind us, because this is the bridge that extends the bridge out here. So you'll see this, ready? We click this, I'll just make sure I don't die, because the density is crazy, as you can see. GG should probably add a little safety point there. See how there's no bridge right now? If I click this, it'll add the bridge, and that'll stabilize it. Path secured, and that is the key. That is the key to maintaining paths as you go, and to making sure that you can proliferate these powerful points. So I'm going to just do the same thing. I know now that I need to like run down around to the bottom left, so to get to the next connection point. We can kind of clear this area though, because there's going to be a lot of loot in here. I've got some extra modifiers on this one, you know, a few extra pieces. So I've been building those up over time, so we can go ahead and clear this one. Again, this is a secured memory, so any items that drop that we want, we have to actually pick up, because they won't spit out at the end, since this zone is actually secure. Okay, so once we've cleared this zone, we're going to just head into the same one, the next one over. And then we know that this one is going to crumble as well, so we just want to clear this as fast as possible. We're going bottom left, same kind of cardinal point idea. And then once I get to the next one, I'm going to want to replace this one behind me and stabilize it in the same way that I did with this one. So we can just go ahead and run this one in the same fashion. We're just going to quickly cut through the middle, which will be the safest route here, since it's on the direct opposite side. It's nice and easy to do. Just try and kill as much as you can as you go, since all those items will spit out at the end. You don't need to worry about them. And as you can see, it's quite a bit of currency and stuff dropping, and it's only going to just get more and more insane as we go. So it'll be up to the left a little bit over here. And once we hit this, it'll spit all the items out, kill some extra stuff if we want, and then it'll dump all the items over here for us. And look, pretty decent amount of currency. So same idea, this one is about to decay. We go into the next zone over, and then we turn around and delete this one, since it's going to decay anyway. And then I'll replace it with another zone. So I can just pop this one here. And then we want to click this one twice to activate the zone we're in, and secondly, to extend the bridge. Same thing as before. And now that one is secured behind us, and our path is maintained. However, it's crumbling really quickly, so you got to be a little careful and fast about that, because some of these crumbling zones actually crumble really fast at the start. So we need to go down this way and stabilize that. That was a little close. I almost screwed up my entire demonstration, because some of these crumble really fast at the start, so you got to get moving straight away. I also recommend for this entire league a skill that jumps rather than a skill that travels. So Shield Charge and Whirling Blades are going to not path you over gaps in this. So don't use those. You probably want to use something like Flame Dash or Lightning Warp or Leap Slam for specifically jumping over the memory areas. If you go from one safe point to another safe point, it's good, but if you land somewhere in the middle, you can either fall through or get like slowed by a crazy amount. So this one's secured. We're going to have to do the same thing with this one. Firstly, though, this one's still planned, so we activate it with the bridge. That'll activate it. Then we go into the zone. And then behind us, we need to delete this one again, since it's currently done. And then we replace it with a new memory, and then we have to click this one again twice to activate it. So this is a pretty safe one. We'll just make sure we kill the stuff around us before we die, and then extend the bridge, and the path is secured. You can see how we've maintained that path by planning ahead, and that means once I get this memory modifier ahead of us, it's going to proliferate to everything else, and going to be super juicy. Okay, so continuing on, we just placed this one, and we know there's one use there, so we're safe at this point. We can go ahead and go into the next zone. We don't need to maintain anything behind us. This will still have one run in it, so we can leave it. And now we're at the point where we're at a crossroads between our reward and one of these modifiers. So what we ideally want to do is hit the modifier first, because then it'll apply to everything else, including the reward node that we're going to go run, so we'll get some extra loot out of it. So we want to head over to that one first. So I'm going to just activate this zone, and we're going to head over to the bottom left. All right, so we're now at this point here. We don't need to do anything on this stabilizer, because this is all already stabilized, but we now go into the modifier node. Now, these ones can be a little tricky because they do decay quite quickly. We need to run across and find the modifier node safety island area. This isn't on the cardinal points. It'll just be somewhere in the map, so we kind of need to like pay attention to the map and see where we can find it. It looks like, but however, I can see it on the mini-map already right next to me, so that will be nice and easy to find at least. So I'm probably just going to head straight down here, and it's right here. So it's actually one of the easiest ones of all time. So what we can do is we can modify, stabilize. Clicking this button applies the modifier pulse. As you can see, it just pulsed out. And what it added was synthesized magic monsters have 60% increased chance to drop a unique item. Nice. And here's the big payoff. As you'll note, it's applied to every single zone connected, including all the ones over here, including all the ones up from the Memory Nexus. All of this has it, even these old paths, and I've now added an extra mod to my big fat ones that have been growing mods for ages. It's applied to every single thing connected. So the strategy ends up revolving around this idea of, or I think long term, you can use the Nexus as a save point, build some really long paths off it, and then run like multiple runs off of another side to get to these memory modifier points. Eventually, you're probably going to want to run them, but as long as you have this strategy of maintaining the bridge behind you, you will consume this, get some fat, juicy rewards, and then replace it with something else, keep the entire path rolling, and your paths will branch out and grow and maintain themselves over time, as long as you stick with that strategy. And each time you go and hit one of these modifiers, everything's just going to get juicier and juicier. It's just kind of crazy that you can get one of these modifiers and apply it to every single zone like that. I've got like 30 zones connected here, and each one of those is getting those mods. It gets pretty insane. So once we've done that, you'll notice that this zone is decayed around us. And at this point, we're like, oh no, how do we get to this now? The good thing is, once you're at one of these islands, you can just jump into the darkness. Again, you don't die. It teleports you to the start, and then we can actually just run back through the zones we've already been through. So if we go back through here, this doesn't actually consume an extra charge as long as this zone is still loaded. You'll see how we've already explored this one. This won't consume an extra charge. So you have a bit of a time leeway where you can re-enter previous zones to backtrack without resetting the zone and consuming a charge. So you don't have to hit a stabilizer again and activate it again. So it's still good there. This one will decay, right? Because it only had the one use to get that memory mod. Otherwise, you could get multiple memory mods and it'd be insane. So that one's now done behind us. And obviously, it doesn't matter. It's served its purpose. It's given us the modifier to all 30 of our connected zones. So then we can just head into this reward node and go ahead and grab the reward. And then we're done with this path. The path will be maintained for future purposes. And then if we say go over this side and get this memory modifier, this path is still fully connected because we maintained it behind us. And then, any modifiers we get over here are also going to proliferate over to here, building this up over time as well. So you get this kind of like back and forth building up of paths, getting more and more valuable and rewarding. So let me go ahead and get my reward node, and then we'll be done. All right, and here it is. We can hit the stabilizer here to dump any of the items at us and finish the zone's decay, and activate our synthesis chests and get some fat, juicy rewards. Holy crap, not to mention Unbearable Whistles 5. Damn, very nice. 5th in the quest chain. That's pretty juicy. So some of these reward nodes end up being pretty good. I've had especially like essence ones as well, just dropping crazy amounts of essences. Guys, I think I like this league a lot. I'm sure there's some details and mechanics here I can explore, and I don't have any ideas yet on how the whole synthesis mechanics works of synthesizing items. But at least my initial impressions here from having tinkered around with these mechanics, I'm liking this a lot. So first impressions, I think, have been a little poor for some people. A lot of people have been saying that they maybe don't like the league mechanic. But I have to say, barring a few quality of life issues and little things that ZiggyD could improve, I think like the depth is here. The long-term legs is here. There's good rewards, there's crazy density, and there's the ability to just build up some like insane, effectively, alternate endgame map-style zones with crazy modifiers. Once we've gotten our rewards, to get back, all we need to do is click Return to the Nexus by clicking the Memory Stabilizer and click Return to the Nexus. It'll open a portal and then we can head back, so we don't have to backtrack and accidentally use any charges. So hopefully you guys have found this helpful, and hopefully it's also helped to kind of show you a little bit more about what the League has to offer. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.